Welcome, everybody, back to the Fire Talk podcast and YouTube channel. For today's episode, we're just going to be going live, doing our Sunday live stream where you basically ask any questions you have, Padres, other sports, whatever it is. Maybe we'll talk about the Super Bowl a little bit, even though probably next week we'll probably talk a lot more about that. But just kind of wanted to hop on. We haven't done it in a couple weeks. Just been going around, bouncing around. Greg, let's talk Padres. Let's do it. I'm super down.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it is pretty underwhelming with all of the lockout stuff, but I'm eager to have the offseason kind of get going again just because it feels like there's a bunch of names out there for the Padres. So, I mean, I don't know. I kind of wonder, we could start out like this, Isaac. Who are your, and we talked about this a while back, but who's like the one guy that's not a Padre? So not like we need to trade Eric Hosmer or do something like that. Who's one guy that you really want to see in a Padres uniform that is a free agent or a trade candidate right now?
Trade candidate, I mean, it's just because off the top of my head, I can't really think of anyone that I'm sold on being a Padre. Somebody that I think will be a complete difference maker. Someone that will have like a 3 or 4 WAR minimum. That's going to be really hard to come by. I guess if you look at it that way. But you have to take it into consideration what you might have to give up. It'd be Matt Olson. I would really love to see Matt Olson in a Padres uniform, especially considering the trash we've seen at first base as of late for the past couple years. But I don't really know if I see Matt Olson happening. I think he's going to end up being a Yankee. I think I said in the last video, one of the last videos, I think he'll end up being a Yankee. Chris Bryant, I also do like Chris Bryant. But I guess if I had to go with one, it'd be Matt Olson. I think we need a pitcher also. Honestly, I would not be surprised if I saw a report saying that we went after Carlos Rodon. That'd be a pretty crazy one. I know a lot of people, think we don't need another pitcher, but I talked about it in the last one with the injuries, the uncertainty of the pitching staff right now. I think it might be smart to go get a pitcher. It doesn't have to be Carlos Rodon, but I think it'd be smart to go get a pitcher right now. I was gonna say one more thing. It's just that, Zach Davies, that's a good one too. That was a guy that I think I brought up. I kind of want another Joe Musgrove. I don't think Zach Davies would have as good a year as Joe Musgrove, but as a number 5, if he could put up a 3.75 ERA, I'll take that any day of the week. Even a 4, I'll take that. Considering, we're throwing out bullpen days every 5 days. So, if Zach Davies were to become a Padre, he's already been a Padre, and I loved him in a Padre uniform.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys are interesting. And before I get into my guy, I do want to talk about the pitchers, adding a pitcher, because I haven't really been a big person on that. I feel like the number one priority is adding an impact bat, just because if you look at the Padres lineup today, it is not very good. Like, you have a couple pieces and you have a bunch of spots that are just like, this is a prime guy to either hit the ball on the ground, strike out, or really just not do much. Like, there's a lot of spots in the lineup like that, and I think that's the number one thing the Padres need to do. Now, the good thing is that there are a lot of impact bats on the market. You can go get a guy like Jorge Soler. You can go get a guy like Nelson Cruz, and they're not overly expensive. So I expect him to add an impact bat like that. Maybe not one of those two guys, but there's a lot of guys that you could potentially add or you could potentially trade for. We've talked about Franmil Reyes in the past. When Ryan came on, he talked about Luke Voigt. Like, there's so many bats, and you could put him in a DH spot, whatever it is. But you're looking at kind of a pitcher. I think the big thing for me is Chris Paddack healthy?
Yeah.
Because what happens is, if Chris Paddack's not healthy, then Nick Martinez is your 5, and then who's your 6? Ethan Elliott or Reese Kinnear or Mackenzie Gore? It's one of those guys. And I think if you have a true, sorry, I got sidetracked by the Jimmy G comment. I'll get back to that. But if you have a true 6 guys that can be starters, I think that looks a lot better than having 5, just because we've seen a lot of guys go down. But I don't think if Chris Paddack is healthy, I don't think you do need to go get a pitcher. Just because if you have 6 guys and a couple guys go down, you can go make a trade. And
exactly.
If no one's developing, for instance, if no one's developing in the minor leagues, right, and it comes to a trade deadline and everyone's still healthy, you still have 6 guys, but you're like, hey, if 2 guys go down, we're going to be really, really thin, then you can still go make a trade. I think you have to be really smart about what you do there, but I do think that the number one thing is an impact bat. Now, with all of that said, I think you add a guy that might not even be an impact bat to start, and that would be Seiya Suzuki. Now, the reason I want Seiya Suzuki so bad is because I think there's a ton of upside with him, and defensively, it makes your team a lot better right away. And you look at the guys that they've been rumored to go after, I would much rather see him than Nick Castellanos. And while I think Chris Bryant would be a good addition, Chris Bryant does scare me a bit, and he's going to make a lot of money. I just don't think the Padres should be spending, like breaking guy off like that. So I think that's where I'm kind of at. I would rather see Seiya Suzuki than anyone else, and then also another impact bat. And then depending on what the starting rotation looks like, what those depth starters are, maybe you add a starter as well. So that's kind of where I'm at. You want to answer this one though?
Yeah. I've kind of talked about it a little bit. I've kind of thrown out the idea that if a salary floor were to come along, I wouldn't be surprised if the Padres were to shop Yu Darvish, considering he's going to make a lot of money. He's getting kind of up there in age, and attached to him as somebody who's basically useless in the lineup and honestly did not catch very good games down the road. That'd be Victor Caratini. However, with the state of the pitching staff right now, I don't really think we can afford to trade you, Darvish. And I mean, that's okay. I think, we're gonna have a good at least first staff out of him, and we're just gonna have to hope he can go a whole 162. We're gonna have to hope that he starts off hot. He's probably going to go into a little bit of a struggle, but we're going to have to hope he's able to reflect on last year and finish strong, which, that's the hope for a lot of veteran pitchers, is that they're able to learn. That's kind of like the upside with veteran pitchers, the greatness of veteran pitchers, that they're able to learn from their past, take that, input that into their off season and get better from that. So hopefully Yu Darvish is able to do that. But with that being said, Matt brought it up, how, we, of course, we don't need a starting pitcher right now. I want one. I think it'd be smart for them to get one. But come trade deadline, when there's going to be guys that, you might be able to buy low on because the team sucks. I can't name any off the top of my head, but I think it'd be a good idea to either sign one now, a cheap one now, or wait till the deadline to maybe swing big.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be hard to trade him before the season starts just because how much money he makes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could make a move for him, but also like if he's looking good, that's when he could be traded. And if he's looking good, the Padres don't want to trade him. So I feel like it's really unlikely that he gets traded. However, I do think Caratini getting traded makes a lot of sense. I think that Caratini and Luis Campusano could definitely be the two catchers traded. And then you have, was it Brandon Valenzuela as kind of like that third catcher, like that minor league catcher. And maybe there's a couple other guys like that, I don't know, like that have been in the minor league system for a while, like Webster Rivas was. But you look at, okay, who are the two guys going to be? Probably going to be Austin Nola and Jorge Alfaro. Like that's probably who it is. So that's why I would expect Caratini to get traded, but Darvish I think is a lot more unlikely. Couple things here. Oh yeah, I was going to say with Ryan Weathers, I think this one is I think Ryan Weathers, Mackenzie Gore, I don't know, pretty much anyone in the minor league system that is like pretty intriguing. This is where I feel like everyone got to stock up in this department because of Ruben Niebla. So I think it's really just going to depend. All right, Ruben's going to work with these guys, and you're going to see how good they are. You're going to see how much they're going to get maxed out, and maybe not this year, but over the next couple of years. So I think it's going to be. I don't think they're going to try to move these guys. I don't think they're going to try to move a guy like Ryan Weathers. But in terms of the Padres' plan, I think that he's going to start in the bullpen. That's what I'd expect.
I do too. I was going to say, I think he's going to start in the bullpen. Quite frankly, I think that's where he's best served right now, and maybe in the next 2 years or so, maybe 1 or 2 years. I think that's where he's going to be solid. I think the problem last year was just that people saw too much of his stuff, and it got really easy for them to hit. I mean, we looked at his Baseball Savant page early in the season, and we were saying, like, we don't think he's going to keep this up. People talk crazy. I mean, we got bashed a little bit, and he wasn't able to keep it up. Unfortunately, we were hoping he would, but he wasn't able to. And they just kept throwing him out there to start, and honestly felt really, really bad because it's like a 21-year-old whose ERA was probably above 10 in a certain time frame, and he just kept getting rocked and rocked, and they just kept throwing him out there more and more because they didn't have any starters. So they kind of had no choice. But I think he's best served in the bullpen. If he does start in AAA, that's also a good thing for him. But if I were to go like in order of what I'd expect, it'd be bullpen, AAA. That's about it. I don't expect him to start at all.
Yeah, there's so many guys on the Padres team that are like, are they going to start? Are they going to be bullpen guys? You have him, you have Lumet, you have Morahone. We talked about Ryan Weathers and Morahone. Like, please do not start these guys, and Lumet. Really, like those are the three guys who are like, please do not start, and then they keep trying to have him as starters. So I don't know how confident I am that they're not going to try to have him start a couple games. Like if someone goes down, like he might like say Chris Paddock is hurt, they might not go after a pitcher, and their thought process is, oh, Ryan Weathers can plug into that role. I'm not super confident that he's going to be able to plug into that role next season. I don't think that's the best like position for him. I think he's better served as a bullpen arm, but I do find it very interesting with a guy like him just because I want to see him develop, but I think the expectations because of the early success are so high, and I don't think that's what we should expect him to look like. The first like Ryan Weathers that we saw for the first 20 outings, would you say? 15 outings?
The Dodger killer, man.
Yeah, like I don't think you're going to see that consistently. Like I don't think that's what his ceiling is. That's not to knock him. I love the dude. I think that, and I just felt bad for him. That's what you said. I remember they just kept throwing him out. I'm like, dude, everyone thinks this dude sucks. He doesn't suck, but it's like he's gonna get like it's just such a bad spot, and you're like putting him into a situation to fail. I just don't want to see him do that. And I think he's super young. I think he's younger than both of us.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Don't want to see him fail. And then I see a couple conversations about Kim in here.
Yeah.
One thing real quick. Yes, I'm very bummed about this. However, Jimmy G being gone, this is a quick side note, Jimmy G being gone, it made it a little less painful because I'm hyped for the Trey Lance era. So it made it a little less painful, but obviously you're like a couple plays away from going into the Super Bowl in a very favorable matchup if you're the Niners against the Bengals. So that one, it hurts. It hurts. I mean, that's like life of every 49er fan. It's like, we're almost there. Or at least every young 49er fan.
I wanted to ask you, so Jimmy G potentially being gone opens up about 25 million cap space. Is there somebody that's a star? I'm thinking of someone specific for you guys. Is there someone that's a star right now that you would like to sign? I think he goes perfectly with you guys' team. I don't know if he'd leave the organization he's with because that's where he became a star. But is there someone you would like to sign? And then another thing I was going to ask, let me see. Hold on. I'll try and think of it. Yeah.
I don't want them to go after any big free agents. I just want them to re-sign Debo and Bosa this year. I want them to move Jimmy, take draft capital. They have a bunch of young guys that are like kind of like, all right, let's see what this dude has. So I think that's what they're gonna do. Maybe you buy low on like, and I'm just tossing a name out here like A-Rob, like because A-Rob was awful last year.
That'd be great. Yeah.
But A-Rob was awful last year because he wasn't trying, bro. Like he literally said, "Don't franchise me. I'm not going to try." And then he started not trying, and everyone was like, "What is he doing?" Like, of course he's not going to try. That's what he told you guys. He didn't work out. He didn't do anything. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Absolutely.
Here, let's get to this this Kim one. And if you come up to that question, ask me whenever.
Dude, yeah, I completely forgot.
So this one, will Padres give Kim a chance to start every day by starting him in left field? I think that's interesting. It's pretty intriguing. Now, the only thing I kind of wonder is like, he's so good at second. Like he's so good in the infield. So does that mean that Cronenworth goes to first? If Cronenworth goes to first, yeah, you could put him at second. But I think that he very well could be a left fielder. I think that's an interesting spot for him. I don't know. What do you think? Also, what do you think about giving him everyday at bats? Because we've talked about that a good amount.
Everyday at bats, I don't think I can be an advocate for that. He had like what was it? A 662 OPS?
I think it was lower than that. It was almost in the 500s.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I can't justify giving him everyday at bats. And that's not to say he's not, he won't be a better player eventually. Of course, it's his first year in the MLB. He's got to get used to that pitching. And that's kind of the concern I have with Seiya also. But Seiya's seems like a much better hitter than Hassan Kim. Now, the only thing about Hassan Kim is that I don't think we'll see him in the outfield. I don't think the Padres are too committed on that. He's too good at second. He's too good at short, and he's too good at third to just throw him out there. And of course, you want to get him at bats. You want to get guys in your lineup. But defensively, how will he look in left field when his primary position is the infield? I say primary position and I say infield because I don't really think he has a set position in the infield. I think he's just good at everything in the infield except for first. But that's because he's small. So I think the most likely scenario is that we start seeing Jake, Fernando, and Manny DH a lot more than expected, or we start seeing the first baseman, which we don't know who it is. It might be Matt Olson, it might be Josh Bell. Shoot, it could be Kyle Schwarber for all we know. We start seeing them DH, and we start seeing Jake play first, and we see Hassan Kim play second. Like, I think there's a lot more opportunities for at bats outside of him playing left field, because there's 4 opportunities, 4 guys you can plug in the DH that you can plug Hassan Kim in your lineup at like the 8th spot. I don't want him batting 9. And I think that's how he should get his at bats. I don't think he should play the outfield.
I also see this comment here. Sorry if there's noise in the background. Someone has like a jackhammer outside. So DH will give Kim more playing time. And then I saw someone say like he's too athletic to be a DH. I think what Irie's saying is just having the DH is going to give a lot of guys off days to move into that DH spot, and then that will let Kim kick in. Fill in for Fernando sometimes, fill in for Manny sometimes. If Cronenworth is playing second, fill in for Cronenworth at second. If Abrams is playing, he might be the most like the second baseman. Him or Kim, or they switch off, or whatever the case is. I don't know. It's really interesting to see what they're going to do with the infield, because like second and first base are kind of up in the air. Even though Cronenworth can do it, but Cronenworth's so versatile, you can have him somewhere else. I don't know. Let's see. There was another one too. Okay. Do you think Nola will get traded and they'll eventually call up Campusano? I think that they will trade Campusano with Eric Hosmer to get rid of Eric Hosmer. And I'm torn on whether or not I like that move. I think what really happens is, 1, you have to see what Campusano comes into. That's the big question. That's the biggest question. 2, what do the Padres do when they free up that money? So, follow-up statement. I see that Greg over here, he said Zach Davies, Suzuki, Nelson Cruz. You trade Hosmer, you free up money, you go get them. That makes your team so much
better. Yep.
That's why I'm not a big fan of going after some like marquee name, because okay, you can go and get these 3 guys, or you can go get Castellanos. That's it. Not worth it.
Guys, Castellanos would suck. Like, Castellanos is one of the worst case scenarios in my opinion. But yeah, you're right, man. I mean, of course, adding one marquee name doesn't fix all of the needs that you have. Like, I think it got understated. They need a left fielder. Unfortunately, they need a right fielder. They need a backup outfielder. They need a depth. I mean, I think Abrams will end up being the depth in the infield, at least in at second and shortstop. He's too good to be depth, but that's okay. But yeah, man, if you're able to get three guys that fill out important roles, you got Davies who will fill out the back end starter, you got Suzuki who will fill out a corner outfield spot, and you got Soler who will fill out the DH. That's 3 spots that one gets implemented. So I mean, that's not really an improvement, but you get a massive improvement in the outfield, and you get a really solid improvement in the back end of your rotation. So I mean, it just depends on what they do with the salary, the salary floor, and what they do with the luxury tax, the threshold. That's what it all depends on. That's we got to wait to see what happens there for free agent signings, for trades, and guys. Like, we got to be on our hands and knees praying for a salary floor to get rid of 2 guys at least.
Well, I think it's very likely that Myers will be playing this next year. But if you have Myers and you say you add Suzuki, and say you add a DH, either Soler or Cruz. Those are the 2 names I think we've talked about a lot. You could also, I see Nicholas asked right here, do you like the idea of trading? He's another DH candidate that you could have in, like, I know that Ryan has a bunch of like 3-team deals that he's talked about getting him, where Matt Olson actually goes to the Yankees, and then the Padres get Luke Voigt, not to play first, to play DH. That would be the spot for him. But I think it's very likely that you see like Kim at second. Keep in mind they have young players. They have Abrams. They have guys that can potentially come in and fill an infield role. They have Profar, right? So you have like other guys there. So almost like a second base rotation. You have Cronenworth at first, and then you have like Suzuki, or if they sign a different outfielder, and Myers in the corner outfield spots. I would put Suzuki in right though, and then Suzuki can be a backup center fielder. The Padres had to go. They didn't have to, but they did trade for Marisnik because he was a backup center fielder. Like, and you don't want to see them do that again. But if you have Suzuki, so at the end of the day, Suzuki can be a very elite defensive center fielder. So that's good if you go sign him, even if he doesn't. If the bat's not there, and then okay, those are kind of like some scary spots considering that your second baseman and one of your corner outfielders are like up in the air, right? Like it might take them a while to kind of develop and catch up to major league pitching. Okay, go get a premier bat in a Nelson Cruz or a Jorge Soler, and I think that makes your lineup a lot better. And you just basically had a wash for Hosmer deals.
Right.
Yeah,
So
it's a, this way. You got to see this. This is very true.
yeah, and remember, I mean, Fangraphs came out with the 90 win with the 90. They're assuming the Padres are going to get 90 wins, and that's with Nomar Mazara in left field and Eric Hosmer at first base. So if you're able to plug in guys that are even halfway decent in those spots, I say your wins go up to 92, 93. Because I mean, let's be I would not expect any time in my life to see Nomar Mazara on a major league roster again. Maybe as a backup, but I just don't see it. And Eric Hosmer is one of the worst players in baseball. So yeah, I mean, there is a lot of positivity when you get Eric Hosmer off the roster, man. I completely agree with you, Alonzo. I need to talk about one because talk about the Niners. I'll talk about the Chargers real quick. Is Brandon Staley on the hot seat? What were your thoughts about his questionable fourth down conversions? No, in the Raiders game, I was pissed. I was so mad. Like, you're on the opponent, or you're on your 19. You're in like your 19 or your 25, wherever you were, on a 4th and 1, and you always said, if there's a 4th down, I want the ball to be in the hands of Justin Herbert, our best player. And you put it in the hands of a running back. I don't even think it was Austin Eckler. I don't really remember, but honestly, I want to say it was like Justin Jackson, maybe Joshua Kelly. But on 4th and 1, you gave it to one of your running backs, and you got stopped, and it was an easy 3. I think it was 3 points for the Raiders. That made me mad. Now, when it comes to going for 4th downs, the entirety of the year, if they were at the 50 or more, I was okay with it. I wasn't as okay with it early on in the games because you need your points. But I played Madden for a long time and I didn't know what punting was, so I would never punt. So my mentality was like, okay, cool, he's aggressive, Brandon Staley. But man, dude, sometimes not taking our points cost us. The Chiefs game and the Raiders game are 2 primary examples where taking the points didn't cost us. So Brandon Staley's not on the hot seat. He's definitely not on the hot seat, and I'm not saying that because like I love him. I think he's a good coach, but I'm saying that because the players love him. Like Derwin, that's his guy, and I'm really surprised that they formed such a strong bond so fast because that them two are super close. So Derwin and him are super close. Keenan and him super close. Like a lot of these guys are super close with him. He's a player's coach. A lot of them like him. With that being said, I don't know if you could attribute it to Joe Lombardi or Brandon Staley or Justin Herbert just being an absolute baller, but the type of year Justin Herbert had doesn't really go for a call out of any of the coaching staff that helped with his development. I don't even know. I really think he's a robot and he just like developed himself or something. But the guy's a stud. So no, I don't see Brandon Staley in the hot seat. I don't see him on the hot seat for another 2 years.
I won't get into it too much, but I think he's a bad coach.
I know.
I'm not.
I know you don't like him. Yeah, I know you don't like him.
Because I watch the games, I'm like, and obviously I'm not even a Chargers fan, but like, it's just like sometimes I'm like, dude, you guys are ruining Herbert's game. Like Herbert's going out here playing the game of his life. He has no time. He's just throwing dot after dot after dot, and it's just like, dude, come on.
That guy's a blessing in disguise.
This one?
My son uses.
Oh, that was a good one. Okay, I have another good one. One, what do you think about Conforto if we can get him for cheap? I like this idea because another guy that you could add for like the corner outfield spot, right? Another guy like you don't land Suzuki. Suzuki goes to the Red Sox or I don't know. He's rumored to go to like 5 different teams. He goes one of those teams. Okay, you go get Conforto for less, and then you also have a guy that like pretty solid bat corner outfield spot. I think it's a good idea. I think there's better options, but they're all more expensive. So that's the big question there. Like that, maybe that's the move if you can't trade Hosmer. I think that's a good one.
Okay.
What do you think for that?
I didn't look too much into Conforto's numbers. He's a good hitter. That's pretty much all I know. But of course, you need an outfielder. Somebody's got to play an outfield spot. So I prefer. This is the one time I prefer Suzuki over somebody like that. I'm not a big Conforto fan, so yeah, I'd rather go Suzuki in a corner outfield spot. Maybe, I mean, I doubt you can sign both, but
yeah. And then I see this one. concern on a leadoff guy, table set guy. All we have is Jake is the number 2 spot, and no one could prove to fill that spot yet, right? I think we know who that guy is. I think we know who he is, but we've been advocating for him to come up. He got hurt last year. That really affected the chances. However, I think that C.J. Abrams he's destined for this role. Whenever he's ready to go, he's going to be that guy. Like, he is going to be the leadoff hitter. He is fast as hell. And, what does he have, 80 grade speed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I still think that's an understatement.
He's like top end speed, and he's a
Yeah.
really good hitter. At least from what I've seen, from how he's progressed through the minor league systems, I think he's going to be a really good hitter. I think he has decent enough pop. He's probably going to lose some speed because I bet he'll put on like 20 plus pounds when he kind of gets bigger, especially if he moves. We've talked about him moving into a corner outfield spot. Definitely could do that there. But in terms of a leadoff hitter, that's like your ideal candidate right there. And I think that's a lot better than other options that you could go after. I think maybe not to start the year, but pretty early on, he could get called up and take over this role.
Tatis is a table center. When you put him at leadoff, man, it's electric. And this year gives you a lot more flexibility to put him at leadoff. I remember the biggest thing about putting him at leadoff last year was that the pitcher was in the spot. Well, now, if you put Trent Grisham in the 9th spot, which I think he's best suited for, especially against lefties, he's going to bat 9. But, more often than not, we started seeing Grisham bat first and Tatis bat second against righties. But I can't think of a better idea than having, your 9, 1, and 2 basically being your lineup from last year. It's Grisham, Tatis, Jake, and Manny. That's perfect. And then at your 4th spot, you got your big power hitter. You're probably your DH. I think it's perfect for them. And of course, when Abrams does come up, he will probably be your leadoff. If not your leadoff, your second hitter. And that will move Jake down to 3, Manny down to 4, whatever. The good thing about Jake is that he can bat anywhere in the lineup. I think he's best suited for like a 1 or 2 spot, and then 5 or 6. I think that's perfect for him. So, of course, I'm going to think Tatis is a table setter. Look at what he does when he's in the leadoff spot. If you go on Fangraphs and you look at his numbers in the leadoff spot, they're better than any other spot he bats in. I don't know what it is about the leadoff spot, but he must just really like it, followed by the cleanup spot. His worst last year was third. Apparently, he hated batting third.
I also wonder how much that stuff matters. Like, is it just it's hard. But some guys though, like Tommy Pham, when you put him at 5, I would lose my mind every single time that happened.
I'll tell you, it's when it comes to the lineup, it's just a matter of like, it's a mentality thing. Like, some people, for me, I was like, damn, I hate batting third. I was like, I like batting leadoff. And I like batting 5th and 2nd. So those are my three spots that I like batting the most. I don't know, like, baseball is just a mentality thing. Like, the whole, like, through and through, it's a whole mentality thing. Like, if you don't like where you're batting, something as small as that could definitely affect it a little bit. So, of course, for Fernando, I don't really think it matters for any of these major league ball players. Maybe some of them, but when it comes to the lineup, if you've seen success in a certain spot, if you've seen so much success in a certain spot, if you see yourself in that spot, it's just like, it's a shot of confidence. Like, okay, I've succeeded here before, probably succeed here again. So that's the only thing it is with the batting lineup. It's really all it is.
All right, so I do have a question that we'll get to the AJ Brown stuff in a second. But what do you think about this? You call up Abrams. You have Abrams lead off. You have Tatis at 2. You have Manny at 3. You sign Nelson Cruz. You put Nelson Cruz at 4, and then you have Cronenworth at 5, and then we'll figure out the rest of the lineup later. I think 1 through 5, that is insane. And also, you would definitely put Grish 9 in that case.
Absolutely. That's probably one of the best top 5 in baseball for sure, just because you have so much power there. The guy that's probably going to hit the least amount of home runs would be Abrams. How many home runs do you think Abrams would hit in his rookie year? Probably like 10?
I was going to say 15. Like 15, and then he'll go up to like 20 maybe. But he could go 10, and then I think he like maxes out like 25-ish, I don't think he'll ever be like a 30 home run guy, but I think it's like Cronenworth level power kind of.
Right. And that's okay. We just kind of need, for Abrams, his job is going to be solely to get on base and wreak havoc on the base paths. That's what we want him for, and to play some great defense. But other than that, Tatis, 40, 50 home runs, easy. And then you got Manny we need Manny to hit 30. Like, I don't want to be hard on Manny because he's amazing, but we need Manny to hit 30. He was close last year. But 30 out of Manny would be amazing. Nelson Cruz, probably another 30. Jake. Uh, um, if I were to give a home run estimate for Jake, I'd give him 22 this year. I think he'll improve in the home run department. But Jake's a stud, man. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him hit 25.
I just think that would be such an interesting lineup because you would have 3 guys back to back to back that are all like 30 home run guys. That's because I consider Manny a 30 home run guy. I know he didn't do it last year, but yeah. All right, what do you think about AJ Brown? What do you think about putting AJ Brown in center field for the Padres?
Not this year. Not in the immediate future. Not in the immediate future.
You think he comes to spring training?
Dude, that'd be sick. He should. I've seen Gil's talking about it a lot. How he thinks it's gonna happen. I don't know. It was funny. It's funny that we bring up baseball and football players. Last night or yesterday, I watched the Deion Sanders documentary on ESPN Plus. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's amazing. But dude, I cannot imagine having to play baseball and football at the same, because what Deion's contract was is that he would be a full-time baseball player up until July 31st, and then he'd go report to the Falcons. But they needed an outfielder so bad that the general manager said, like, hey, can you still play? And Deion, he decided, yeah, I'll still play. And he said, when playoffs come, you have my undivided attention to the Braves. But they didn't have his undivided attention. He went to go play in Miami the night after he played in a game, in a baseball game, the NLCS. He went to go play in Miami, and that same day he had to fly back to Pittsburgh to be in baseball uniform. He didn't play, but to be in baseball uniform. I can't imagine a player ever doing that again, man. That's tough. Like, he was limping after the football game. He couldn't even play in the baseball game. But with AJ Brown, if he's able to play in spring training, like, I don't know if he will, but that's gonna be such a good media draw. That exactly, Gil. I see your comment right now. I just saw it. Sorry, but as a media stunt, it's nothing serious. Exactly, and it's not. It's mostly a media stunt, but it's also a thing where, like, the Padres drafted him. Let's get something out of him. But yeah.
Imagine he just comes out. I mean, AJ Brown is like that type of dude too. It's like, oh, it's time to take over a game. All right, bro, I'll go off for 202 tutties. Problem with AJ Brown is that AJ Brown has serious knee issues. Like, he has really bad chronic knee injuries, so he's not gonna legitimately play. Like, I think he might come for like a couple days. I don't think he like legit play in spring. I think he might come for a couple games and like do some warm ups and stuff. But he needs to like do a lot of recovery, a lot of like training for his body so he can withstand the full NFL season. That's why I don't expect it. But I do think he's actually going to come by. Like, I think you're going to see him like hanging out with Fernando and Manny and doing something and like hanging out for like the weekend or something like that. And I think that'd be super cool. And then he'll come out in the Padres AJ Brown jersey, and then everyone will want to cop one of those.
Yeah, dude, AJ Brown's one of my favorite receivers in the league, man. That guy,
he's sweet, dude. Takes over games, complete beast.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
But we can't compare CJ Abrams to Byron Buxton. Byron Buxton is one of the best players in the league. If it was not for injury, dude would he'd be putting up Mike Trout seasons, which is really crazy to say, but that's like, those are his numbers.
He was on pace for like a 10 WAR last year. It was kind of crazy.
He just always gets hurt. Have you seen how they structured his contract?
No.
So basically his contract's not that much, but if he plays a full year, he'll make like $40 million.
Oh my God.
Because it's like, it's all incentive. It's not all incentive, but it's like a lot of incentives. And if he plays like the whole year, they're like, yeah, you're going to be a 10 WAR player. Like, we'll pay you a ton of money. So it's pretty cool. And I like that they did that too. It's like, okay, small market Minnesota team. Like, look, man, like, you're so good, but you just haven't been able to be healthy, but we want you. Like, we want you to be that guy for our team.
Yeah, he doesn't play. That's an unfortunate thing, man. He's so good though. Like, I'm not gonna knock his talent, and I know a lot of people are like, how can he be this super amazing baseball player if he doesn't play? Well, him not playing doesn't mean he's not good. Like, he's a stud.
Definitely.
What do you think about Machado?
What was the question? This?
Yeah.
It's possible Machado can opt out if the Padres don't make a serious push for contention. I'm not saying it's likely walking away, but it's a possibility. They need to win. They need to win. Their number one goal this year should be to win. Like, and I say like, okay, like that's why I don't expect them to not trade Hosmer. I think they have to trade Hosmer because one, the real person that's feeling it, not Manny, is feeling the pressure, but AJ Preller is feeling the pressure. Because I guarantee you, if Machado wants to opt out of his deal, AJ Preller is gone. AJ Preller is 100% gone if that happens. And I don't expect it to happen. I really don't. I think the Padres are going to be a lot better this year. I don't know how much noise they're going to be able to make, but I do think that they're going to make the playoffs. They have a lot of talent, and their issue is the other pieces surrounding Machado, Tatis, Cronenworth. They're starting pitching getting hurt. So I think you're going to see Hosmer moved. I think you're going to see a couple solid like options there. I think we're going to see either CJ Abrams or Robert Hassel or both of them. If Luis Campusano is not traded, we're going to see him. Like, we're going to see a lot of the pieces that we've been waiting to see come up. Mackenzie Gore, I don't think it's a guarantee, but it's very likely we see him. Kevin Kopps is probably going to be in the back, in the bullpen. So like, you have all of these guys that are going to be coming in to play roles that are young, talented players in your farm system, and you're also going to be trying to getting major league options that you can count on. So when that happens, you have basically like an option to like a backup option all across the board, like maybe not every single position, but like pretty much in every spot. Like, okay, this guy can go play out of position here if worst case scenario. Like, I think they're going to be really, really focused on having a healthy team and having a lot of depth to make a playoff run. Because if they don't make the playoffs, I would not be surprised if AJ Preller's fired. And I like AJ Preller, I do, but it's kind of hard to not. I don't know. I think it's hard to not say that. Do you think it's like over the top?
No. It's definitely not. I mean, you got to look at it from just because, I appreciate that him and Peter Seidler are putting all their efforts into making the Padres good. I appreciate that to the fullest. But it's a business. Like, if it doesn't work out, if you strike out twice, because let's be real, he struck out in 2015 massively. I think striking out is an understatement. If you strike out again with a top 3 player in baseball, Manny Machado, who's one of the best third basemen in baseball. You got a cheap contract with Jake. Fantastic trade with Jake, by the way. I read a comment that said that we don't talk about it enough. You're right, man. We don't. It's a beautiful trade. It was fantastic. And I mean, what about the rest? There's like nothing else that you could really, flaunt. You got Trent Grisham, who you traded for, who looked solid for 60 games in 2020, and at times looked solid in 2021. But more often than not, he looked pretty bad in 2021 than he did good. You signed Tommy Pham, who looked good for a month, a solid month. And then you signed Will Myers. Remember, he signed Will Myers. He re-signed Will Myers to be the face of the franchise. Nowhere near the face of the franchise, and I don't think he'll come close. Too much competition. And then he signed Eric Hosmer. He traded for Yu Darvish, and Yu Darvish is too early for there to be any big time judgments yet. But we'll see after this year how that trade looks. There's a lot of things that he's done wrong so far. He's done some things right. He got Tatis, he got Machado, he got Jake, he got Musgrove. And hopefully we're able to say what a great move Blake Snell was. And in times where people say don't trade with the Rays, if you're able to trade with the Rays and get Jake Cronenworth and Blake Snell, the best out of them, you want to trade with the Rays. Congratulations. So no, man, I don't think it's an understatement to say that he's on the hot seat. I mean, why wouldn't he be? This is his second time striking out. This would be his second time striking out.
So I see this one as well because I definitely get both sides of it. Like I get and I see
there's two sides. Yeah.
Greg also said, I think he has another 2 years until they consider dumping him. So what we've been doing, and we haven't done this in a while. We're going to start this up next week as our first couple episodes. But we did all those trades and we're going through and grading them. And a lot of people felt like we were being super harsh on Preller. We're literally just trying to get a gauge on how his trades have worked out. We're not trying to be biased and I like AJ Preller, but if he hasn't been good, then I don't think that he should be the GM. Like it's literally that simple for me. I think he's a super cool guy. I would love, I mean, we've seen this. AJ Preller goes and plays basketball all the time in like random parks. I would love to go play basketball with AJ Preller.
Yeah,
Like I think he's a
100%.
super cool guy. I think he's an awesome player or like an awesome person a great baseball scout, awesome person to be a part of your organization. But if he's not getting it done, then that's a big question. So we have to go over, I think, the 2020 trades. That's the last one we have to do. And then we're going to do a full, has AJ Preller been a good trader? Has he been has he been a good GM? And we're going to go through and we're going to really break it down. Now we've done it over like all the seasons. We're going to probably have a big list of like notable names left, notable names added. And we're going to go through that with everyone and be like, okay, this is where we're at. I think it's going to look a lot worse than everyone expects. Like,
Oh yeah.
if you take out, it's crazy, dude. If you take out, and they are great, the Tatis and Cronenworth trades, it's bad, dude. It's so bad. And like, you look at free agency wise, it's like, okay, I don't blame him for Hosmer. I really don't. I don't think that was his move. I don't think that was
No.
his call.
Mm-mm.
But like, it's not like it's like overwhelmingly like amazing. Besides like Machado, so like, I think there's super super bright spots. But I think when we go and look at it, and we're gonna do it, we're gonna eventually do it. And I have some faith in the 2020 guys as well. I think that you have Clevenger. I got faith in Clevenger.
Oh yeah.
I got faith in Austin Nola. I know a lot of people are completely off of like the Austin Nola train. I think he's a very, very good catcher. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that he's got really lucky with a couple injuries. So when I say that I think if they don't make the playoffs, he's going to get fired, I think they're going to make the playoffs. So I don't think he's going to get fired. But I think if they didn't, I think it would be that bad of the last 2 years that they're going to be like, dude, you're not getting it done. Like, it's that simple. You're not getting it done. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I also see this comment from Devin. I don't know if he would do it, but when he was the director of scouting for the Rangers, I think that was his role. He was so good. Like, his ability to go overseas and get talent is like, it's unmatched. So I do think that if you lost Preller, you'd be losing your best scout. You'd be losing one of the best baseball scouts in the whole sport. But he's in that significant role. If you could move him to a director of scouting, maybe that happens. But I think he would leave the organization if he wasn't the GM anymore. That would just be my thought.
Right.
And then I was gonna say, good.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, Greg, I think you kind of nailed it. A lot of these trades, we're gonna think of it, and it's gonna be hindsight, because when we look at the trade, when we look at the Blake Snell trade, we saw the name, and of course, you're gonna get excited. You gave up Luis Patino, you gave up Francisco Mejia. That's kind of a lot to give up. But I mean, you got Blake Snell. He was a former Cy Young winner. It just didn't really pan out for a while, and when it did, dude, when it started to pan out, oh my goodness. That dude was an S tier pitcher. He was insane. So hopefully we're able to look at it the way we looked at it in the back end of Blake Snell's season and not, on the front. But other than that, like, yeah, man, I think a lot of it does come down to, it's hindsight. At the time, the trade looked amazing, of course. But that's kind of like the whole thing is that when you get the player, you got to have the player perform up to their expectations. And maybe that doesn't solely fall on Preller. It falls on the coaching staff mainly because they're not able to get, maximization out of their players, especially that Larry Rothschild dude was horrible. And as soon as he left, Blake Snell turned into Cy Young all of a sudden. So, but yeah, I, it's just that some of the trades do look like so lopsided. Giving up prospects, that's especially hindsight. Trey Turner, Max Fried, Anthony Rizzo, but at the same time, you gave up, Trey Turner for, I think it was, who, Will? I want to say it was Will. So that looks horrible.
The Trey Turner one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was for Will. Yeah, that was
that looks horrible. But, the way you're talking about it, Greg, is Will Myers was the rookie of the year. So it looked really good. But, it just didn't work out for us. And then you gave up Max Fried for Justin Upton. And the way you look at that, Justin Upton was pretty damn good himself. And, it just didn't work out for us. And that falls solely on the Padres organization and their coaching staff.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing for a lot of these trades. And Snell, Clev, like all these guys, I have a lot more faith in them next year. I think they're going to do a lot better. I think you have Ruben Niebla as your pitching coach. For the younger guys, you have Mike Schmidt now to develop them. That's huge. I don't know. I'm excited. I think their coaching staff is going to be a lot better this year. And I just have a lot more faith in some of these guys. I do see this comment. Yeah, I was gonna say that's what I pull up. I like Profar, but man, it just kind of hurts because you're playing Profar a lot of money. Like, so I will say this: as a pinch hitter, Profar's probably my favorite to have come up as a pinch
Oh
hitter
yeah.
because he's gonna work the count. He's gonna go out there. He's gonna get like 9 pitches, and he has when he's hitting well. Because sometimes the dude is just off, and he like will not get a hit for like a month. But when he's on, he's pretty nasty, dude. He gets pretty like he gets hot for a while, and so he's like becomes a really really good pinch hitter. And like even when he's not playing that well, like I'll get excited, like all right, dude, we gotta get up here, like when the 9 holes coming around.
Mhm.
And now if there's a DH, that kind of is obsolete. Like that doesn't really matter having a good pinch hitter because you're okay. You might pinch hit him in a couple situational spots, but not that much. However, I really like the guy. I think the part where Professor started like pulling up the trash can when in the Mariner was it the Marlins? Yeah, the Marlins game. That was so.
Dude, God tier. That was amazing.
Yeah, I like him
um,
a lot, but
yeah. Honestly, out of us three, I probably like him the most. I will say that. I really do like Profar. I think he's a solid ball player. It's just it's kind of hard to defend 2 home runs. You know, he's a horrible outfielder. I mean, it's kind of hard to defend that. One thing I will say is that I think he has what not a lot of players in today's league have, and you brought it up already. He's just able to work the count, man. He's able to foul off a lot of pitches and take. He has a really solid eye at the plate. Like he's really solid at the plate. It's just the power is not really there. But you're right, dude. When he's on, he is such a good hitter. He's constantly he's a great gap to gap hitter. He's constantly nailing those gaps for doubles, and that's something that we're not seeing too much right now. Is somebody who will work the count and go with the pitch, inside pitch, hit it to the right center field gap, and just work. That's what he does really well. Um, I mean, 7 mil not justified. He's definitely not Chris Taylor the way they wanted him to be, but I mean, there was no way he was going to leave. As long as AJ Preller's here, I don't think we'll see Profar go anywhere.
yeah, it's literally his dude right there.
Mhm.
I do kind of wonder, like, I don't know, dude. It's just tough paying him 7 million.
Oh yeah,
You guys want to hear Brave sent here? Thanks for free. Yeah, you
yeah,
guys
no
are
problem,
welcome.
man. No problem.
Yeah. um, see this right here? I like that. I also think Martinez or Paddock as a 5 is solid too. It is the question mark is depth. If Clevenger is not able to pitch that much and Darvish goes down, it gets a little scary.
Hmm.
Musgrove, Snell, then Nick Martinez, Chris Paddock, then no one else. Like it gets, I don't know. That's where I get kind of nervous. That's why I do like the idea of adding Davies to that. I don't know what else we got here. Let's pray Clevenger's back to the way before he was the injury. 100%. I mean, if he's good, that's gonna be big time.
If that's the case, he'd be our ace. Like he'd full like if you look at numbers and everything, and he's not going to start the season that way. Like we saw Denelson Lumet when he came off Tommy John. Um, I mean, he looked okay. It's just his control was kind of everywhere, and that's kind of what I expect from people off Tommy John. Um, and the Tommy John process is a lot easier for Clevenger this time around because it's the second time. So you really got to wonder, like, is he really not going to be as good as we think? Like, is he going to come back faster than we think? Be the Mike Clevenger that we know faster than we think? Because he even said it himself. Like my rehab is going a lot better than I expected because this is my second time around. So that's really really good to hear. That's something you want to hear out of a guy you traded a lot for, and somebody that quite frankly like if he is able to come back to form, he's going to be an ace and he's going to be a top 10, top 15 pitcher in baseball. And that's somebody we need right now.
100%. I think we get pretty excited about Clevenger.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a good year from Clevenger. Let's say this. Let's say because I feel like I'm a lot more optimistic about you Darvish than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not, and I also don't want them to pitch him like a ton of innings. I just think it's destined to fail. But I think he's going to have a much better season than he was because later in the year he was awful. I mean, it was like 3 or 4 months he had a 6 ERA. Like it was really bad.
Yeah.
I think that if you get him like around like under a 4 or under a 4.5, and then you have a good year from Clevenger and Snell, dude, you're going to be a really, really good team. You're going to win a lot of games if those guys pitch well. So I think a lot of the season is really dictating on, is the pitching staff going to be healthy?
Yeah.
If it's not healthy, what are your depth options? And is Clevenger going to be back? Is Darvish going to be fine? Is Snell going to be like he was in the back end? And if the answer is yes to those 3 questions, or I guess those 4 questions, you're going to win a lot of games. You can win 100 games. Like, you definitely could. However, most likely it's going to be like a split. Like, oh yeah, a couple of those things happen, a couple of them don't. How good is it? How good does it turn out? How big of a loss is, if someone gets hurt, how big of a loss is that? So a lot of questions with the pitching staff, but I mean, I think that the season is really going to dictate on how dominant they are.
I think as long as they have a top 15 ERA in baseball, this team will be okay. I prefer top 10, of course. I think top 10 is a lot more, is a lot safer. But with that being said, okay, We'll answer this one after right here about the Nelson Lumet. Damn it, dude, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh no, I remember what I was gonna say. A lot of it does ride on the pitching. A lot of it also rides on how consistent this lineup is going to be, and that's why it's so important to add some bats, because you look at it, there was a 9-game win streak last year where the Padres swept the Reds, they swept the Dodgers, and then they took 2 or 3 from, I forgot who, where that lineup was just nasty from top to bottom throughout all those 9 games. Like, even Hassan Kim was looking all right. There was also another win streak where Fernando barely even played in that win streak, where Hassan Kim looked great. And when you're able to get all your guys, because if you notice, like I think we all noticed last year, it was who's on? Fernando and maybe one other guy. Fernando and Jake, Fernando and Manny. When those 3 were going, it was like nobody else in the lineup's producing. Grisham was he was kind of bad. Like, he was kind of bad all year outside of the first couple months. Tommy Pham was bad outside of a month. And remember, when Tommy Pham was on, we were winning a lot of games. And then who else? Will Myers was bad pretty much all year. Eric Hosmer was, dude, in our group chat, we were saying all hail the Magic Haas for like the first month, and then nothing happened after that. and Caratini was not a very good hitter. Nola was out for a while. Like, a lot of this rides on the consistency of the lineup, which, we need some consistent bats.
What about Fernando? Fernando would get hurt, and then he wouldn't be that good for the first couple weeks.
Yeah.
And he still put up an MVP caliber season.
Mm-hmm.
So,
he'd be really good the first day.
Yeah, he'd come back, hit like 2 bombs, and then he'd like slump for 2 weeks, and then he'd go back to normal Fernando. It was like the same pattern like 3 times.
Exactly.
Like the beginning of the year too. Remember, he started out pretty slow, and then everyone was
so slow.
Dude, and people started making all those like memes, like, yeah, look, the Padres blew it with Fernando. I was like, all right, guys, calm down. It's been a week, bro. It's been
horrible
a week.
Contract.
Yeah,
like, what?
It was like the worst take ever right there. Yeah, that's hilarious. How it's like baseball is 162 games, and everyone starts losing their mind after 5 games into the year.
Dude, I know, it's kind of crazy.
What do you think about Lumet's role? He better not start. That's my thought.
He can't start. He's got to be a reliever. I don't know if it'll be as a closer. I think he's a setup man or a closer, though. I don't think he's like a middle reliever or anything. I mean, thing is, if you try and I wanted to say right now, like maybe as a long reliever, but I had to stop myself. How many innings can you actually get out of Lumet? Like, that's the big question.
And I think another factor too is, and I don't like to say this because like I'm a huge Lumet fan. I think Lumet he's one of my favorite players to watch. His slider is so disgusting. He might not be that good anymore. And I think that's something that's really, really scary. I hope he is. I really hope he is. I have no idea. I do not know if I'm not saying I have the answers. We have not seen him. Like, we don't know. But if he's not as good, he might just not, like, it might just be nothing. And it really sucks to see that, because it feels like he was a guy that his injury was completely mismanaged, and it could just be the end of his career. And like, he could have been a very valuable piece as a bullpen piece. We thought he could have become a closer if he's pitching like he has in the past, like he did in 2020, years prior to that. Because like early on, yes, he struggled a little bit, but if you remember when he was, I think it was his rookie year, he was nasty the first 2 times through the lineup.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was like his ERA was like sub-2 for like the first like 3 or 4 innings, it always felt like. And then the 5th inning, he just get completely rocked. Third time through, he get rocked every single time. And he improved that a lot, and he got a lot better. But it's scary, man. I don't know. I don't have the fullest faith in him. Let me know what you think about him, and then I have one more thing, and then we'll probably take off after that.
Yeah, so I mean, man, 2021 Lumet was my favorite pitcher to watch in my time watching the Padres in general. I've been watching the Padres since I was a kid, and dude, I love watching Jake Peavy, but it was just something about 2020 Nelson Lamet, man, that you know it was a locked up win, no matter who. Even when we played the Dodgers, if I saw Lamet on the bump, I didn't really care. It was a win, and you're not going to get that out of him anymore. It's kind of unfortunate, and you could say his arm is cooked. For anyone who's been on Twitter and sees that video where the guy's like watches meat fall off the bone, and the meat just all falls off the bone because it's fried or whatever. People are saying his arm's fried. Yeah, you could kind of say his arm's fried a little bit. Um, and that's unfortunate because he's such a good ball player, such a good pitcher, and unfortunately, like he's in my opinion too good to be a reliever. But that's the thing that and that's what injuries have done to him. That's gonna force him into a reliever role. I don't know. I mean, we're not doctors, so I don't want to assume he needs Tommy John. I think he needs it, but um, I saw this comment from Devin talking about what's worse, them training with Joel Seedman or mishandling players' health. It's got to be mishandling players' health, man. You look at it like they delayed somebody's Tommy John. They delayed the Nelson Lamet's Tommy John the first time around, and they're doing it again. um, no, okay, I can't assume he needs Tommy John, but if he does, they're doing it again. Um, So with that being said, like Dinelson Lamet's an amazing player when healthy, but Matt said he's not very confident in him anymore. Um, I kind of feel the same way, and it's not just because of his talent. I don't think if it weren't for the injury, he would not have fell off. He would have been our ace. But you know, injuries happen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Okay, one quick thing before my final topic. Will you do a review of the medical staff? I just don't think we know enough about it. Like we can say like, okay,
Mm,
this is what's happened, but I feel like if you just seen like all the injuries, like we know all the injuries, and like it's definitely a huge concern of ours. But I wouldn't know like, okay, this is what they're doing wrong with their players. Like I literally have no idea like on how
yeah,
that works. So I just
I'd
feel like
have,
it'd be something I'd just be kind of talking about something I don't really know about.
yeah, it'd have to be like the deepest of deep dives. Who's in the Padres medical staff? What's their history with past with past players in their medical staff? What other medical staffs have they worked for? Like that's kind of like a deep dive, so that's kind of hard to get into.
Yeah, Paddock does. Yeah,
Dude,
this
exactly.
is this is what we're scared about too.
Yeah.
All right, final topic. Kill. CJ Abrams, 2022 Rookie of the Year, not asking for much this season, but I want this to happen. Question for you. If CJ Abrams starts either in right field and left field at second base to start the year, will he win the Rookie of the Year?
Mm, depends on the other rookies that get called up. I mean, you look at what Adley Rutschman, there's Bobby Witt, there's a lot of good guys. I think if Abrams were to get called up at the beginning of the season, he'd probably be the front runner for it, just because I don't know who else is coming up. Um, if he starts in, I think his best opportunity to win it would probably be at second, just because if you put him in right field, you're going to get compared to all the really good right fielders that are out there, and I don't want that. As much as I want him to play right field, it's like you're going to get compared to Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, Bryce Harper, Mookie Betts, Aaron Judge. Like there's a lot of good guys out there, so that might not be like that might not help his case in terms of winning the Rookie of the Year, even if he has a really good year, because people are just going to compare him to the others at the position. But if he were to play second, not primarily because that's Jake's spot. Like I don't really want to see Jake moved all that often. I'm okay with him playing first sometimes and DHing sometimes, but I mean Jake is too damn good at second, man. Like he's so good at it. Um, CJ Abrams plays like his hair is on fire. Yeah, man. Absolutely. And that's what we hope to see out of him in a Padres uniform. So, I mean, okay, maybe I'm overstating the whole right field thing, but, I think he's talented enough. Everybody thinks he's talented enough. Everyone knows he's talented enough to go win that Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, so there's a few guys I'm looking through here. So first guy that kind of comes up because a lot of the top prospects are in the AL. There's not that many that are in the NL.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's Francisco Alvarez. Oh no, he's next year. Who is it? So Brennan Davis is like the first guy that's supposed to come up in 2022. He's on the Cubs. He's an outfielder, big dude. Joey Bart is probably the next guy you bring up, but he's a catcher, so like his numbers probably aren't going to reflect how valuable he is. So I think it's a little bit harder for catchers to win Rookie of the Year. Shane Baz, that's the AL. Never mind. Pirates have nope. Like there's just not many guys. Nolan Gorman, second baseman, third baseman for the Cardinals. He could come up this year. Hunter Green, pitcher that the Reds picked. I think they picked him at either 1 or 2 a few years ago.
Oh man, that dude's nasty, bro.
Yeah, so maybe like, but he's a pitcher, so like also like you don't really know what to expect. Like it just it seems like if he starts, there's not a ton of competition. Maybe outside of like Joey Bart and the dude on the Cubs, what's his name, Brennan Davis. Like, all right, if he can beat those 2 guys out, he's probably gonna win it. Unless there's like a Jake Cronenworth guy that comes out of nowhere, you know. But of the top end guys, they're almost all the guys that are gonna be promoted soon are AL guys. So definitely has good chances. And from what we think he is, yeah, if he's hitting leadoff, dude's gonna get driven, and he's gonna have if he started this year, hit leadoff, and is the guy that we think he is, I think he has 100 runs.
Yeah,
and that's a crazy number for a rookie.
I know runs aren't like. So here's a really important stat: extra bases. I think it's like extra bases created, something like that. When the Padres were winning, they were the best in the league at creating extra. I don't know how to say it, man, but I'll try and figure it out so that way I can bring it up in another video. But
like extra bags, like if they hit a single and you turn into a double, you hit a double, turn into a triple.
Exactly. Or like, for example, somebody's on first base, somebody else hits a double. Instead of settling for third, they take the extra base and they score. That kind of baseball wins you baseball games. That is your best baseball when you're playing like that, aggressive like that. And I'm not saying oversell it, but CJ Abrams is the epitome of that. A guy that's going to, take a lot of extra bases, and that's going to be, so valuable. And I think, that's where the run stat becomes valuable. Taking extra bases. Yeah, there we go. So, that's where he's going to be so valuable in that aspect. And I think that's going to go, of course, it's going to go slept on because runs isn't that important of a stat. But, dude, when you're taking extra bases like that, of course, like it's got to be something valuable. And you mentioned Hunter Green. Dude, I had a friend. He went to, Xavier. He went to Xavier. You know him. I'm pretty sure you know him. But he faced Hunter Green. And he said he couldn't see the ball. Like, and that was kind of the same thing when I played somebody. He plays in the Cubs organization, but it was kind of the same thing when I played somebody who threw hard, and he didn't throw 101 like Hunter Green. But Hunter Green in Southern California, if you play baseball, like that dude was it. That dude was like the number one guy that everyone talked about.
101? Was that in high school?
Yep.
Oh, that's insane. You're going to go against dude that they're on like 70s, 80s, and this dude just goes like, yeah, I'm 20 miles per hour.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think it's a huge thing. I think final thing I'll bring up, one, does Abrams have Mookie Betts upside? I don't know about Mookie Betts. Like I hope so, but that's like pretty that's MVP caliber player. I don't know if I think we got to see him a little bit in the MLB to see if he will ever become that. That's like insane level of like production. That's like what you want. That's like top end of anyone.
Yeah, that's top 3 player in the league type production.
But you talk about this, taking extra bases. If you have Abrams at 1 and Fernando at 2,
oh my God,
and you put, and then you have Machado up next, the amount of times they're gonna do hit and runs where Machado bloops a single in, because Machado is great at hitting the little bloop singles into the outfield pockets. Like that is a super underrated aspect of him, or just like a slow ground ball through second base and first base. Like he's so great at that, right? You're going to get so many 2-run singles from that top of the order. And when you start a game and you have a pitcher that's not very good or starts out and he can't hit his spots and they walk both of those guys, you're going to come out of like with a 2-run cushion all of the time because of the speed that starts out with, which is a huge deal, especially when you have pitchers like these top end pitchers. I think it's like one thing that kind of gets like underrated about baseball is like the flow of the game, because like everything's always like you look at numbers, but a lot of times the flow of the game kind of dictates how you play. And I think for the Padres, I think they have, if you can get out to early leads, I think you're going to be really, really successful with this team. And I think that CJ Abrams being there, I think that's a huge piece that kind of gets forgotten about. Like you said, like taking bases, runs, kind of an underrated aspect of a game. But I think also for CJ Abrams to win the Rookie of the Year, it might be a little underrated, but you're going to feel the effect. You're going to see the excitement.
Mm-hmm.
And if he steals a ton of bases and it's like, this dude stole 30 bases, he's like the leadoff hitter that the Padres were missing, that kind of narrative will push him into the conversation. I think he could definitely win it because of that.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to add before we take off?
I had another thing I was going to say. I completely forgot again. But
I think you just woke up, huh?
Dude, yeah, dude. I really don't know, but it says playing as a team is more important than chasing individual stats. Padres always swinging for the fences. Yeah, man, I kind of agree with that. Of course, with the way the game is right now, everyone's kind of swinging for the fences. Everyone's kind of striking out a lot. Like I'd say 28% of the time is considered good now. But that's kind of just the way the game is, and I would like to see the Padres change that a little bit. Taking those extra bases, playing. Sometimes you just got to play some station to station baseball, man, with the way the game is going. But yeah, that's about it.
Small ball in Petco Park is never a bad idea.
Nope, never.
Never a bad idea. I mean, you're going to win a lot more games if you start trying to hit it out at home all the time.
Oh yeah.
And then when you go to Cincinnati, then that's where you're just like, all right, everyone, we're swinging for the fences today.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna take off. Isaac can get some coffee.
Yeah, dude, I need something, bro. 'Cause I'm dead.
All right, guys. Great time chatting with you. Hopefully we'll be back to it next week. But we'll get this trade episodes out early this week. I don't know if we're gonna be posting on Monday, but our schedule's gonna kind of change. And when we figure out what we're gonna do, probably be posting a little bit more because we've probably been posting like 4 to 5 videos a week. Probably gonna try to push that more to like 5 to 7, including the live stream. But all that said, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you guys very, very soon.